Okay, everybody. Hi, I am going to check my volume. All right, I think the volume's fine. I talked to my son, and he's going to kind of help me stay steady with the Tuesday and Friday lives by helping me get the content. And what he's going to do is help me use AI. I have not used AI. I'm just not the techno person. I just don't like to do that. But I want to stay on the cutting edge as far as information. And since I don't watch television and I have limited time to look at the news concerning finances, then, he convinced me that AI is going to be the best way I can ask the AI, what are the current stories that are going on? And maybe it'll give me a list of 10 stories that I can pick for the week. So I decided that, like Sunday evening, I was going to go out there and select stories for the week. And I didn't do that this time. I just had a story that I wanted to talk about, which we'll get to shortly. It's been a rough week already. I found out on Sunday evening that one of my good friends' husband passed away. Um, he was already ill, but it's still a blow. They have been married 38 years, and she got married when she was 17. So my heart hurts for her because she's been married since she's 17, and they've been married 38 years. So that, and then the very next day, which was yesterday, I got a note from a family in Costa Rica that one of my friends there passed away in San Jose. This is a lady that, we met online. She had been looking at the content, and when we went to San Jose, my dad and I went, and we had to stay for a while because my attorneys are there, my CPA is there. Well, they don't call it a CPA, but you know what I mean. And she had us over for dinner, had a wonderful dinner, had a wonderful time. And then ever since then, this was like right after COVID, so I want to say 2000, I'm sorry, 2021. So when I go down there, I let her know that I'm coming, and she'll say, okay, well, how much suitcase room do you need? Because I don't know if I told you guys this, but Amazon doesn't deliver there. It's about the shipping. The shipping cost would be cost prohibitive. So she would actually order things and have them shipped to my house. And then when I got ready to go, I would pack them up. And normally when I go down there, I go straight to the Caribbean coast. So when we come out through customs, come through the airport, she would be outside in the parking lot, and I go across and give her her stuff. And what she started doing, because I liked the smoked salmon that was prepared, when we had dinner the first time at her house, she would bring me all packed up in kind of like some cooling containers, smoked salmon with some kind of wonderful sauce that the fella made. And so we would do that all the time. Every time I went, I said, hey, I'm coming. And whatever she needed, I would put in the suitcase. Just different vitamins and things that are hard to get a hold to there. And I did see her on October 12th, this past month when I went. She actually brought me the salmon, and I brought her the three or four things. I think it was three things that she ordered. And since we finally got our deed to the property, Middle of Paradise Hills, instead of me trying to figure out how I was going to meet with the lawyer, I had him courier to her house. So she literally gave me my deed and the fish, and now she's gone. And you know, Bridget and is her name, and pray for her family, and just shout out for her because she's a good person, and I'll miss her a lot. So been dealing with that this week. Wanted to announce also that between now and the end of the year, I've been talking to some people that kind of want a jump start or a booster to start next year. Some people have business ideas. Some people already know what they're going to start. Some people already have businesses, but the main theme is that they want to have some kind of jumpstart direction for 2025 in their business. So I'm going to do a 4-hour course between the end of this month, and sometime in early December. Some people said they wanted a full day, like 8-hour course. I'm like, I don't think people want to do that online. So we're going to do a 4-hour course online, to include things like should you or should you not set up certain kinds of entities, where you should set up the entities, what kind of businesses work best for you. I will allow questions, and it depends on how many people join, because if 100 people join, which is probably not likely because you probably won't hear about it because I'm shadow banned, but the more people join, the probably I'm going to have to limit the questions to like one question, and I know how to do that now. So look for more information about that class. Probably in my Friday live, I'll have more information about what we're going to do, because I'm still formulating it, and I'll have a date next time we meet on Friday. So um, yeah, thank you, Les. It's a blow. I mean, I didn't know Rusty, my friend's husband. I'd never met him, but that's got to be devastating. You since you were think about it, since you were 17 years old, you've been with the same person. I think that's beautiful. I mean, that's real to till death do us part. And then with Bridget, she's a German person, the one that passed away in Costa Rica. Very nice woman, very level headed. Her and my dad got along really well, and I'm like a miss her. I'm gonna miss the fish, but I'm gonna miss her more. So we're gonna talk today about the Corporate Transparency Act. I know I did a video on this before, but people were asking questions about updates and things like that. So I'm going to, definitely refer to my notes, because when I talk about stuff, it's usually factual stuff, and it's not that, salacious stuff that you can, make up. I just want to be accurate. I don't want anybody to say, oh, she gave us the wrong information. So I will be referring to my notes, and we're going to go ahead. I got a lot of this information from online. I have some associates like the McPhees that, have information that they share. And, I try to go for trustworthy sources that are pretty thorough. So, what is the Corporate Transparency Act, and what does it mean for your business or your potential business, the one you're going to start in 2025, if you have not already started a business? So, the Corporate Transparency Act is it was something that was passed back in 2021. Now, I didn't know it was that old. But what it does is it requires anybody who registers something with the state, like corporations, LLCs, limited partnerships, to file a form to show who the beneficial owner is, the one who has the most authority. Um, if it's registered with the state, they want you to divulge that information. Now, remember we talked about the different entities. You got your sole proprietorship is somebody who has a business, and it's just them, and they operate a business. They didn't go and register with the state. They don't have to. Those businesses do not have to file this beneficial owner information form. If you are a general partnership, like you and your spouse or you and your brother have a partnership, you just have a business, you didn't go register with the state, you are automatically classified as a partnership if you are two or more people doing business together. They don't have to file, and trust don't have to file. So if you registered your LLC with the state, if it's an LLC, you had to register with the state. So I'm gonna go in order because I'm thinking out of order right now. So these forms are registered with an organization called FinCEN. Well, who is FinCEN? So you have the Department of Treasury, as opposed to the Treasury Department. We're not going to go there. And then you have the IRS, which I call them the insidious representatives of Satan. And then you have their bad little brother, and that's who FinCEN is. They're the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. That's what FinCEN stands for. So these guys are the ones that, they're operating internationally, and they carry guns, and they want to supposedly stop the drug dealers. It won't take all that to stop the money launderers. You all know who's laundering the most money in this country. We've had too many reports come out about all of these international people doing all this stuff and buying all this property and hiding everything. And they're trying to get little mom and pop that has a small business to have to tell what color underwear they had on in 1947. Y'all know I'm really upset about this. Y'all know. Anyway, the requirement is that you go online and register as beneficial owner. So if you own 25% of a company, you're considered beneficial owner, or if you have substantial authority over it. So if you start a business and you have a whole bunch of other people with 35% and 55% and you only have 10%, but you're running the thing, they still consider you, of course, a beneficial owner. So you go online. If you have a small company, you have to register, but there are rules as to who registers. But generally, all of us with a small business have to register. 25 people or less in a business, you have to register. When I say 25 people, I mean 25 owners or less. So if there are 25 owners or less in the company, you're supposed to register. Now, when you register, you have to give FinCEN all of the information, like I was talking about, and you have to give that information on all of the beneficial owners. So your name, your address, your social security number, your birthday, and your phone number. And they want you to upload your driver's license. I haven't done one yet. I'll tell you about that later. And that's actually what they want. So and I talked about, they want to know too much. So let me, a lot of people will ask this question: is this constitutional? The answer is an overwhelming no. And let me explain this. March 1st, 2024, the federal court in Alabama, now this is Alabama, issued a ruling that says that the whole thing is unconstitutional. So a judge said that, and the judge did not hold back any words when he said that this is not constitutional. It was really unconstitutional in his opinion. He did a great write up saying that this whole thing invades our privacy and it's unconstitutional. About 3 or 4 days later, FinCEN came out and they issued a public notice. And I'm going to read what the public notice said. Okay. We'll agree that it's unconstitutional for everybody in the American Small Business Association. This is the lawsuit that the judge ruled on. So everybody in the Alabama American Small Business Association, or it may even be everybody that, I think it is, everybody nationwide that was a member of the American Small Business Association on March 1st, 2024. It's unconstitutional to them. Those are the people that sued to see whether it was unconstitutional or not. So if you are a member on March 1st, then you don't have to comply. You do not have to fill this out. But guess what? Everybody else has to comply. Does that sound tyrannical or what? If you weren't involved in this lawsuit, and it's not like you could go and say, oh, they won the lawsuit, I'm going to join the American Small Business Association on April 5th. No, if you weren't a member on March 1st, you have to comply with this thing. I think that's totally crazy. If it's not constitutional for those people, it's not constitutional for us. And this is nasty to me. It's very nasty. So if you don't comply, for every day that you're late filing, it's $500 plus a $10,000 fine plus 2 years in jail. All of that's cumulative, is from what I understand. It's not just one or the other. It's all of them. So they're making this thing a big, big deal. So FinCEN wants to fine everyone hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to rat on themselves, even after they've admitted that this thing is unconstitutional. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. So I'm going to go to the chat and see what we have. Thank you for your condolences. Do you think Trump will really end the federal income tax if he wins? King Ting. Okay. It's going to take more than the president. It always has. When there's a even if there's an executive order, the Congress and which the Congress, which includes the regular Congress and the Senate, have procedures that they can knock something down, so they can veto something. So I have seen over the years where people like Ron Paul and others have fought to get rid of the income tax. It's always the Senate that beats it down. In other words, that stops the movement to get rid of the income tax. It's always the Senate. Now, when you think about where the money from the income tax goes, it doesn't go towards running the country. It goes towards other. It goes towards the powers that be, and the powers that be use that money to lord over us. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere. He alone can't do it. He and some of the Congress people that are on his side can't do it. It's going to take more than that. Now you have to understand that your elected officials don't run the country. They're told what to do by lobbyists and by basically by the corporatocracy, specifically the banksters, the insurance companies, and all these large corporations. So if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then they lose their position in office, and then they can't do insider trading and all that other stuff that that they do. So I would love for the income tax to disappear. And what I heard him say was exactly what's supposed to be in enacted in its tariffs. So the Constitution talks about imports, excise, duties, and tariffs. Those are all taxes on other countries for the benefit of doing business here. Imposts, excise, duties, and tariffs. And then the income tax came along and flipped the script. So it looks like he may have been doing some studying, or somebody, taught him. But I don't think it's gonna happen, um, simply because he can't do it alone. Let's see what else is here. This is just giving us a peek into where this country is headed. Yolanda, unfortunately, you are right. Um, to me, it's a whole bunch of tyrannical stuff already going on. For them to say that, oh, these people sued and the judge said we're wrong, and we'll admit to being wrong just for these people that sued, but for the rest of you all, you got to do this. You just can't. So, secret space programs based on Mars. Secret space programs. We have a space force. What are they doing? I don't know how many of you looked at that information that I gave you, the saga of Balaam. That's really weird. Somebody in the comment section asked me what I got out of it, and it's like, well, they like to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. And I don't know. I've always been, you know, one that believed that we're not here alone. And there, if you look at the news and certain things that come out in newspapers, you'll see that the government gathered some pastors maybe about 2020 or 2021 to see to take surveys and have group discussions about how people would react if there were extraterrestrial beings that were discovered. They actually got, I don't know if they paid them or not, but they got a group of pastors together, and that was in the paper. So those things like that, they make my radar go up a lot of times. Anyway, I don't know. Trump also said he will also do a federal audit. Do you think the financial criminals will be held accountable? There's been audits before. The General Service Administration has done audits. There's millions of dollars missing, and nobody was held accountable. So, no. Less. It's amazing how we are under the same Constitution, but it singles out at the same time. Um, well, we have to use the very thing that is law already, have to stand on it. Yeah, if you want to, I stood on my ground, and I still believe what I believed back then. It's a matter of how far you want to go with it, because as long as they continue to have the funds to rake you over the coals, then they're gonna do that. And it's like that game, whack-a-mole. Do you all remember? Like, I remember that game being at these little fairs where you get this club, and these moles are coming out of the ground, and you have to, your hand and eye contact has to keep hitting these moles. Well, as long as one or two of us keep popping up, then they're gonna be able to knock us down. And then I don't think our country is strong enough to that has a strong enough backbone for people who just say, I'm mad as what, and I'm not going to take it anymore. It's not enough people. We need more people. But again, we got some other stuff happening. We have people that are being welcomed in that are going to go and toe the line of the corporatocracy. So you got to make a plan for yourself. It's not looking well to me. You got to make a plan for yourself. So I'm going to run over here and go back. Okay, so I'm going back to the Corporate Transparency Act. That Alabama judge said it's outrageous, which it is, but FinCEN says they're going to do it whether the courts say it's unconstitutional or not. If you didn't believe before that your government is a rogue, I hope you see that now. And just like was said in the chat, I think it's Yolanda, this thing is going really, really bad right now. To them, it doesn't matter what the law says. They'll attempt to succeed at doing what they do until it's stopped. This is outrageous. So what they say they're trying to do is prevent money laundering. Well, trust me, anybody who really is laundering money is going to find a way around this somehow. Just like all of these people wanting to confiscate your protection. The people that have that, the people that give it up, the others aren't going to give it up. So, it's a whole nother story, but it's parallel. They're going to find a way around it somehow. I think they've already figured it out. So supposedly this Corporate Transparency Act / beneficial ownership filing is supposed to prevent money laundering. They want to know they want to know who the beneficial owners are. And the beneficial owners aren't just those people listed. Like I said, they are anybody with substantial influence over the company. Anybody that gets money from the company, whether you own a chunk of the company or not, you're considered a beneficial owner. So let's say I own 1% of a company, but I'm getting a whole bunch of money, or I tell everybody what to do. Now, they won't know that initially. You can put down anything that you want to put down. But if they were able to find out, then here we go with the fines and stuff. One of the questions that came up concerning the Corporate Transparency Act is it a one-time registration, or is it supposed to be done every year? Well, it's supposed to be a one-time registration, except for there's an issue. If you change anything in your life, like your phone number, your address, get a new driver's license, you have to go and refile that form. Now that and it got worse, yes. So you're gonna go to FinCEN. This is how you do that. You type in FinCEN in your browser. It's gonna come up and it's gonna bring up this form. It's gonna have a big old button that says register. You press the button. It's gonna ask you for all that stuff I talked about: your name, your address, your birthday. It's gonna ask you to upload your driver's license. I don't think it's gonna take, even the slowest person, I don't think it's gonna take 30 minutes to do that. And like I said, each beneficial owner has to file the form, each person with 25% ownership or substantial influence. The catch basically that I was talking about is that I don't know how people are going to keep up with remembering when their driver's license expires that they have to go fill this form out. If they fill this form out in December of 2024 and their driver's license expires in May of 2026, they're not going to remember, oh, I got to go and and change that form. They're not going to remember that. So what it says is, if there are any changes, you have 30 days from the change date to inform FinCEN. Otherwise, you get the $500 a day fine, $10,000, or the 2 years in jail. The clock starts whenever that change is. So it's grossly unrealistic and darn near impossible for you to make these changes and go along, because first thing, things are going to happen. People's lives change all the time. I know people who change telephone numbers 2 or 3 times a year. But then, how are you going to remember to do that? Who's going to put that on a clock? And then I'll get to that part. So, if a substantial owner passes away, you're not going to be thinking about, oh, I got to go file a FinCEN form. You're going to be thinking about the person and their family and stuff like that. So a lot of people will have totally forgotten, that they have to go do this. If you get a new driver's license, that was another one. Think about if you have 6 or 7 key players in a company and all of that you have to keep up with. It's bad enough if one person has to remember, but what if 7 or 8 of these people have to remember, or somebody is supposed to keep up with, when life changes in these 6 or 7 people? It's interesting. So, um, for now, if you have an affected entity, you'll still have to file, even if you close the entity. So if you close the entity tomorrow, they still want this form filed for 2014, which is going to give them your information. Okay. That's, if it was open, even if it was an inactive company, you have to file it. When you decide to get rid of the entity, you still have to file, close the entity down. Um, you have to close it down properly. So even if you have a business that you've had since, let's say, 2019, you haven't been doing anything with it, you did not go down to the Secretary of State and formally dissolve the company, they're still expecting this form. They're still expecting the form. So that's, they're making it hard to get around this. So the subversive person in me says it's just a way for the government to take out the small businesses or the individual businesses, just to take us out. And because if you really enforce these crimes, the penalties will wipe a lot of businesses out. Most businesses that are really, really small, mom and pop businesses or individual businesses, they're going to be wiped out if they get this kind of fine. So what is the real purpose of this? Because we're not the ones laundering money. Go back and look at the news stories, or key in money laundering, and you'll see who's coming up. It's the banksters that are coming up. So why are you bothering us unless you really want to take us out? That's the question I have. So let's see. If there's an exemption for those people that filed a lawsuit with the federal judge in Alabama that are part of the Small Business Association, are there any exemptions for any others that weren't a part of that lawsuit? Uh, if you have a company that, like, if you're in charge of a nonprofit organization or corporations and other things like that that have to already report, you don't have to report anymore. The That's strange. The nonprofit organization already asked for that, and some other forms already asked for that, so they're exempt. So what is the deadline for registration? The company, if you've had your company prior to 2024, the deadline is December 31st. If you started your company in 2024, the deadline is 90 days from the day you started the company. So if you started your company on April 1st, that form was due May, June, July 1st. And if you start a company in 2025, you only have 30 days to file that form. So by the time anyone challenges this, they'll already have all our personal information. So if there are any lawsuits that are still in the pipeline, and I thought there were two, I didn't see them come up, but let's say there are. It took this other one that the Alabama judge spoke out on. It took it 3 years to get to the system. So they were really dragging their feet on this. This is how a lot of stuff started. This is how Social Security started. Somebody figured out that it was unconstitutional, but by the time it was ruled unconstitutional, it was already in place for a couple of years, and people had gotten used to it. They know what they're doing. Let me see what else I have on here. If someone started a company this year in 2024 and it already been past the 90 days, what happens? You're going to go and do the same process with registering and pray that they don't level any penalties because it's all new. There are so many companies that have no idea about this. Yes, it's been on the internet. Some people don't go on the internet. Yes, I have gotten several notices from the Secretary of State via email because I'm either the registered agent on some companies or the beneficial owner of some companies. And what if somebody doesn't read their email? So a lot of people still don't know. So for the companies that I manage, I receive emails for I think all of them. And one of the things I was going to say is they may cut some people some slack in the first year. They may. But the fact of the matter is, I guess 50% of small businesses really don't know about it. So they may cut them some slack. Uh, I don't believe that people are receiving these crazy fines. I just can't believe they're going to do this. I can't. I think that, they're going to have an uproar if this starts happening. They're going to blame Congress. They're going to march on Congress and then, claim to hold Congress accountable for losing their seat if they let this happen. But you never know. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see. There are some exceptions to the registration. Like I said, if you have a nonprofit, there was something else I wanted to say up here about the filing. Let's see. What about people that control more than one corporation? Do they have to go and do that detail on every one of them? One of the guys got online and he said he has 70 LLCs. I don't know what his reason was for opening up 70 LLCs, but he has to file one on 70 LLCs. So this is what I found out. You have to file a separate form for each company. However, as an individual, you can get a FinCEN number. I didn't look much into that, but if you get a FinCEN number and you're going to give them that exact same information for all of the companies. So you get to register for a company, you actually get a FinCEN number. Somehow that number is going to come into play to stop you from having to fill out, well, stop this guy. Hopefully he knows this. Stop him from having to fill out 70 forms. So you can just use that number, supply that information for all of the 70 companies. That's a help for people who are like registered agents with a whole bunch of companies. Now, that's what I want to talk about. Registered agents, CPAs, and attorneys who have helped people start their company are backing away from being responsible for filling these out. I received a letter from, my registered agent saying that they're not doing it and that I must do it. And they don't want to do it because they don't want to be the one that's responsible for keeping up with all these different changes. Because if they do the first one, then logic dictates that they will be expected to do any changes. So they don't want to do it. They're already CPAs, attorneys, and registered agents are denying um, doing any of these, and they're letting you know up front. I kind of laughed when I got my letter. Let's see. Do you need to hire somebody to complete the form? No, it's very, very simple. Beware of the scams that are out there. Let's use our logic, and say, if someone comes along and say, hey, I know you don't feel like dealing with this form, I'll fill it out for you. You got to give me your name, your address, your social security number, your driver's license and all that. I'll fill it out for you. Yeah, right. Don't fall for any of the scams where people who would you give all that information to? I mean, you might have some trusted people that you would, but this is something that you do. If you have a company, you do it yourself. There's no way, I would pay anybody anything, or let somebody, even if they said they wanted to do it free. If they want to do it free, it's not free because I'm giving up all of my information to this person. So leave those people alone. Um, Talk about privacy and identity theft. That would be a big one right there because they would have all of that information. And even if they did file the form, um, who knows? They would have to put it in some kind of database, which is another story. The scammers database and the government's database. Who's to say that, because they're going to share it with the state, all the states, they're going to share it with law enforcement, the police officers, all these other FinCEN. Originally, we were told that FinCEN was going to keep it with FinCEN, but now we're being told that it's going to some states and police and all of these different databases. Today, this morning, I received a text and it said from my bank's fraud department. And it looked kind of suspicious. And it said, did you try to purchase something with the card ending? And it gave me a card ending, y'all. And it's like, I don't have a card with that ending. This is a fraud. So I clicked it and it went away. Then I was on a conference call and I saw the call come in from my bank. And I'm saying, this is the bank fraud department. I didn't pick it up because I was, in a conference. But when I got out of the conference, I looked and the message comes through on my phone. When someone leaves a voice message, it comes through via text. And then I looked at my email and it said, did you make this? Did you try to attempt this purchase? So I didn't answer. I went over to my bank and I logged in to my account. This is not an account that I use. Somebody tried to use a debit card, you guys, that stays in my drawer. I don't remember the last time I pulled that debit card out. This is literally for a company that's related to the Costa Rica company. And I have a Costa Rican bank account that I deal with. I haven't dealt with this. I cannot remember if I've even used the debit card on this. Maybe one time, had to be 6 months ago. It is in the drawer. I ran to the drawer to see if it was still in the drawer. It's still there. It does end in those numbers, but somebody has inside information because I have not been using that card. It's been at least 6 months since I used that card. So how did they get the card information? How many times has our information been hacked? By all of these organizations that have come out and said, yeah, we got hacked. How do they know about this card? Isn't there's not a lot of money in it because I don't keep a lot of money in banks. And I did have to say no, that wasn't my charge, and they automatically canceled the card. And I may or may not get another card. I just may not get another card. I just may, if I ever need money out of that account, just go to the bank and get it because it's getting ridiculous. It seems like, every 6 or 8 months, people in my environment are getting hacked and having to start over with a new debit card. Usually, though, it's a card that's being used. I don't understand that. So I'm going to go to the chat right quick and see if we have anything. What's strange about the saga of Balaam is AI generated. Yeah, it looked kind of weird. The first time I saw a movie like that was the 300, and it was kind of animated. So, also the other thing about it that shows me that it's totally AI generated is some of the words that they say are wrong, or they'll skip an S on on the end of a word that needs an S on it. That's what I saw when I was looking at the preview. So I don't know if I'm going to watch it or not. I probably will, but we'll see. It sounds like the answer to this problem is to have a trust in place. Less, yes, or not just one, a series of them. Um, yeah, I'll put it like that. You have a series of trust, but again, this is something that you'd have to do for like starting 2025. But you can put it together now. You can start it, and I have people that are doing that right now for 2025. And some people it will help this year. if they already have a business that has an EIN, it'll some if they can get it done before the end of the year to work. But that's that's the main answer to the problem. So yeah, Katina, just go sole proprietor. When you're trying to set up structures that are a little bit more advanced, you don't want to use your slave surveillance number. And with a sole proprietorship, a lot of people do that. Now you can go ahead and get your EIN, and I'm not sure. I think that what you want to do is get not a sole proprietorship, because that's just you. You want to get like an LLC, which is a disregarded entity. But it's a whole setup, and a lot of the nuances have to do with who you are and what you're doing. So yes, but that's right, Les. Shouldn't we receive a notice from the IRS? Ultimately, the IRS is the keeper of record. I haven't seen anything that says they're going to do anything. The only thing right now sitting out there when you go to FinCEN is that big old register button. So it's like, come on and register. You know, you got to register. You set up an entity with the Secretary of State. You know, I've got entities that I'm responsible for that I'm not the beneficial owner. So I've listed all of them. And what I was going to say is there's only one entity that I'm responsible for that set up this year. And I have until like the end of November to do that one. And all the rest of them I'll have to do, before the end of the year. So I'm waiting till the last minute. So since there are several of them, I will probably do them around the 15th of December, sometime before Christmas. I'll get them done, and I'll just probably sit down in one session and get them done, because it looks like it won't take that long. Now, what I'll have to do for a few of them is I'll have to get the driver's license of those that are the beneficial owners, so they can scan me their driver's license, and I can do the form on their behalf. But I'm not keeping up with the changes, not at all. So let's see if there's any more. Estella, this appears to be more red tape. Exactly. Do we really need LLCs? Can we not just do business with a DBA? You can. You can. I had a client today, and he's just starting out, and I told him, don't get an LLC. Just do business. Go get you an EIN. Go get you a bank account. Right now, he's not in a position to be able to do the trust situation, but he can still do his business. And then when he starts growing and starts having money come in, then he can do the trust. LLCs might have protections, but a sole proprietor can have a security agreement in place. Really, LLCs, Estella, don't have protections. It's like if it's just you, or you and your brother, or you and your spouse, or whatever, whoever, if somebody sues you, they're coming after you. I tell people that all the time. I don't see the benefit of having a small LLC with just the people, either the sole proprietor LLC or the partnership LLC, because they're going to come after you. So you just might as well get insurance. That's what I tell people. The best thing to protect you is going to be your insurance. What is going on? I don't know what's going on. I don't know if y'all hear that, but my alarm keeps going off, and I guess I said it wrong. Anyway, insurance is going to protect you if you have an LLC or even a sole proprietorship. So if you have a business, since you guys know that this is the United States of America, you need to make sure that you have some insurance to protect yourself and protect your assets. So, for example, I have what's called errors and omissions insurance. So since I do consulting and teach people about accounting and taxes, it's called errors and omissions insurance. And within that policy, there's $75,000 for legal fees. So if someone tries to make a claim on me that I told them something, which I don't give advice, I tell people what I would do. I can't give you advice. do. This is what I would do in my situation, or this is what I would do, but I'm not telling, I don't tell people what to do. So that's going to help you. Let's see what's next. How about shelf corpse? Now that's a whole nother issue. YOLO. Um, it depends on if you're trying to get credit. I know that shelf corps are good if they have that longevity, and especially if they have a bank account. One of my associates and mentors uses that very well, but that's on another level right there. The beginners really don't need to be trying to borrow that kind of money. And if you get a good shelf corp, and especially if it has that Dun and Bradstreet and it has a bank account, that's gold right there. But the beginners, that's not for beginners. But yeah, shelf corp. But those corps still have to um, file the beneficial owner because it's a corporation registered with some state somewhere. Still got to file. But yeah, that's a good deal if you want to get a loan. Okay, ears to hear, eyes to see, truth and vlogs. I am a single member LLC. Do I have to get the FinCEN number? Because you are an LLC, yes. You went down to some Secretary of State and filed as an LLC, as opposed to you just being you and having your business and not filing with anyone. That's the difference. So if I'm going to have a business and I'm going to say the business name is uh, Greenery Scenery, I just made something up really quick. If you're going to go down to the Secretary of State and say, I'm going to have my LLC and here are my articles of organization. This is Greenery Scenery LLC, and I'm going to do this. You file with it. They want to know. If you say Greenery Scenery is just going to be a business, and I'm going to get a business license in my county, but I'm not going to register it with the Secretary of State. I just want to make sure that I have a business license to practice, to do this business in my home. You're not going to have to file that form. So if LLC is behind your name and you literally went to a Secretary of State and made it an LLC. Now, I don't know, people might put LLC behind their name and they really didn't go do it. If you put LLC behind your name and you really did not go to the Secretary of State and you're not been paying like the $30 to $50 every year to keep that registration, you don't have to do it. But if you've been down there, you got to do it. Hi, Celine. So if you have any other questions, let me know. I think I have just a few more things to talk about with the Corporate Transparency Act. So let me know. Like I said, I talked about you don't need anybody to do the form. Yeah. And so I would be on alert if you have to file this to try to once you file this for 2025, try your best to operate in the private arena because we see what HIPAA did with our information. We see it, they got a hold of Kaiser information, they got a hold to all these AT&T's information. We are giving everything to this FinCEN thing, and I don't trust anybody, especially after the hackings that we've had. We have other countries hacking into our information. So, with the big hacks that we've had, it could be um, other countries doing that. So I don't trust them. So what I want to do is back away specifically from utilizing my slave surveillance number on stuff, and then just making sure that I have a situation where I have EINs and protections that put in place. So let's see. So they have openly stated that they're going to share it between all governmental agencies and all the state agencies. So most banks are going to have your information also. So with that, I don't know what they're going to do with that. Are the banks going to use that against you as far as opening up accounts? There's just a lot of different, you know, ways this thing could go. But my decision for myself is to be very careful about, the businesses that I do, that I operate, make sure that I file the thing, but I may even end up closing some businesses at some point, because again, if you file the thing before the end of the year, then you won't have those fees, but you can turn around as of January 1st and close the business, especially if you're not doing anything with it. Then you can start up correctly, which is, if you want to use the sole proprietorship, but specifically using the trust, those kinds of things. Okay, to sum it up, as much as we don't like our privacy invaded, we don't like our constitutional rights overthrown. If we don't want to pay these penalties, we're going to have to comply with this mess. Okay. Another question that was asked, is there any possibility that the law will be overturned in the future? Well, the genie is out of the box. So how many people within the next a lawsuit takes time. How many people within the next 3 years are going to end up filing this thing? They're going to have all the information. And unless you're going to change all of this information, then they're going to have it. Even if you shut down your all of your companies and start over, they still have the old stuff. So some people might summarily start trying to get rid of things, like change their address. When you get a here in Georgia, when you get a driver's license, that number doesn't change. So even if it expires a different day, they still have that number. By the way, here, and I don't know about recently, but I'm at an age where they weren't using the social security number as a driver's license, but I've seen people. How many of you have a driver's license that your driver's license number is also your social security number? I didn't even know they were doing that. It's that whole, herd of sheeple in the sheeple corral thing. Um, let's see what I put down here. They who brought this thing into being? Who let this thing happen? And the it says it was a bipartisan effort. 30 Republicans voted for it, and every Democrat voted for it. So that's why it came in. The Congress has let this thing go through. Um, I think that if anybody came into office and they really wanted it to go away, um, and get rid of all this regulation, I don't know what would happen to them. Hopefully somebody will come along and say, okay, we're not doing this. Do I know of any organized efforts to lobby Congress? I don't. I thought there were two more states. There could be two more states that are fighting this battle in court, but you know what's going to happen if they win? It's only going to be the people in those states that get to not do it, and those lawsuits are not going to materialize before the end of the year. Okay. So that's it. If you have any questions on it, please let me know. I mean, it could get as I didn't want to get down in the bushes with it. So if you have any more questions about it, let me see if there are any more questions here. What about you filed in a state like Wyoming? Well, if you filed a Wyoming LLC, there's some protections that you have, but you still have to give this stuff to FinCEN. I have LLCs in Wyoming, and they're the main ones. They're the main ones who told me, we're not filing it for you. You make sure you file it. I'm not filing it for you. So yeah, you got to do it. It's like if you're an LLC, it doesn't matter what state. If you have a trust, you don't have to do it. If you have a sole proprietorship, you don't have to do it. So that's that. And if there are not any more questions, I will stop for the evening. I'll let you know as soon as possible the topic for Friday. I don't mind you guys sending me in the what do you call it, in the comment section. Send me some topics that you want to talk about, because somebody asked me about the Corporate Transparency Act, and what was the update on it. So that's how that topic came along. And honestly, I can ask AI, like I said earlier, about topics that are going on right now in the country concerning finance, but I would rather hear from you guys. So put those in the comment section of this video. I will put in the community chat probably on Wednesday, tomorrow or Thursday, what topic I selected for Friday. And I'll also put more information in there about the 4-hour class that I'm going to do to get you guys jump started in a business for next year. Thank you for appreciating me. Thank you. I really appreciate you all coming on. I really do. I don't take you all for granted. I know it warms my heart to know that people are out there and they want to learn the information because we need to be thriving. We don't need to be just in survival mode. That's the struggle bus does not need to be in front of our houses. It does not. And I'm sick of seeing it. I went to the farmers market one day this week, one morning this week. I had literally 5 bags of groceries, $175. 5 bags, $175. This has got to stop. So we have to beat this. And the more we learn about how we can, make more money and keep it and protect it, the more we're going to thrive. So with that, I'll talk to you all later. Make sure you go into the comment section and put some topics down there. And have a great evening.